Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Music Monday, and today is going to be probably the most highest requested Music Monday video for me to make. And this is going to be my top 10 favorite bands. Before I get into this is a completely objective video. You may not agree with my favorites. Hey, that's perfectly okay. So please, keep in mind that everybody has different tastes, and you can't argue with what music someone likes or dislikes. It's all about the chemical process in the brain, so you're basically telling me that my brain chemicals are wrong. Also, individual artists who don't really appear as part of a band are not part of this video, so that is for a future video. And also, this was an incredibly hard video to make. I listened to hundreds of different bands, so this was very, very difficult to narrow it down to just 10. So getting straight into this, I'm going to start at number 1. Most of you guys will already know who this is. Opeth. Excluding the last 2 albums. They weren't really my cup of tea. They are a used to be death metal band with a folk fusion to them. They have gone more the progressive rock with the 70s kind of vibe to it in the most recent years, and you know, I do listen to that kind of stuff, but I don't like the way that Opeth has done it. Opeth had a really distinct style with their first 10 albums, and that is why I love them. Their first 10 albums, well, 11 if you include Heritage. So with all of these, I'm going to recommend my top 3 favorite songs with them. So if you're unaware of the band, these are going to be the songs that I recommend to get a feel for the band. So for Opeth, my top 3 favorite songs are To Bid You Farewell, The Apostle in Triumph, and also, oh my gosh, I could name off songs forever. Hours of Wealth, The Grand Conjuration, Ghosts of Perdition. Grand Conjuration and Ghosts of Perdition have a special place in my heart because they are songs that my husband's band used to play, and I adore those songs. Also, the song Coil. The song Coil was an acoustic opener for the Watershed album, and it was the first song to include female vocals, and I really liked that song. And for Opeth, they have an incredible back catalogue of music. If you're new to Opeth, I recommend starting off with Watershed. Watershed was an album that really focused on their folk and death metal fusions and the ballad style of their songs, and from there go back through the catalogue until you end up at Orchid and Morning Rise. So number 2 is Tool. Tool are an American alternative progressive metal band. They are famous for their unique bass lines and their down-tuning of their guitars and their unique tuning. Opeth, I forgot to mention, also for 3 or 4 albums used a very unique tuning for their guitars. We nicknamed it in the band and all of that. We nicknamed it Opeth tuning, and yeah, it's kind of like a drop C with a little bit of standard mixed in there. It's a strange tuning, but it really works. Anyway, back to Tool. Tool is a band I've been listening to since I was about 10 years old, and Maynard is the lead singer of Tool and A Perfect Circle and Puscifer. He is a god with music. He can do absolutely no wrong. Some Tool songs that I recommend, if you're new to Tool, I recommend you listen to the Lateralis album because it is very, very insightful, beautifully written both lyrically and musically, and start to finish, every song is great. All the Tool albums are, but I think that people who are new to Tool can have a little bit of a trouble getting into Tool fully, so that's why I recommend starting off with the album Lateralis. But my favourite songs from Tool are Sober, which comes from the Undertow album, I believe. Vicarious. Vicarious is probably the most well-written Tool song that I've heard of. Vicarious and 46 and 2. Also, a couple more song recommendations of Tool, because, you know, with Opeth and Tool, I just can't seem to stop. Schism, Schism is another very beautifully written song. There are two perfectly good interpretations to the song, whether it be the breakdown of relationships or the leaving of religion. They're both incredible interpretations of the song. And Flood. Again, Flood is another beautifully written song. More of a musical song. It's very instrumental, but it does have good lyricism to it as well. With Tool, watch out for their what I call curveball songs. They're very strange, but they're strange for a reason. There is one particular song which is, it's German for the balls of Satan, and it's just reading a cookie recipe. It sounds so nefarious and so dark, but it's just reading a cookie recipe in a specific voice with specific voice filters. Very, very funny. Moving on, number 3. 3 is a tie-up between two bands, but I'm just going to get into both of them. Cradle of Filth. I have been listening to Cradle of Filth for over 10 years now, and I'm still just as in love with them as the day I first heard them. I know many of you don't like Cradle of Filth, and I get it. They're a very, very acquired taste, but I love Cradle of Filth. I love them. I said in a previous video that I used to, back in high school, have a Cradle of Filth shirt for every day of the week, and yeah, I love Cradle of Filth. So Cradle of Filth are an extreme metal band from Suffolk in England. The reason why they're called extreme metal is because they don't typically fit into death metal, black metal, any of those kind of subgenres. It's a mixture of all or nothing. It's strange, but Cradle of Filth have a very unique sound. So when referring to them, people just say Cradle of Filth, or referring to other bands, it's very Cradle of Filth-like. So my favourite songs from Cradle of Filth are Tortured Soul Asylum, which is the closing track of my favourite Cradle of Filth album, which is Midian. Midian is an amazing album, followed by Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder. Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder is fucking fantastic, if I may say so. It is about a serial killer from the Dark Ages called Gilles de Rais, and he was a French nobleman who had killed approximately 400 children. A couple more of my favourite songs from Cradle of Filth are Swan Song for a Raven, which comes off the Nymphetamine album, Bathory Aria, which is kind of one of the most popular songs of Cruelty and the Beast. Cruelty and the Beast is a very, very popular Cradle of Filth album. A lot of people seem to have that as their favourite. Me personally, it's Midian, as I said. Also, two songs that I think people who are completely new to Cradle of Filth, who they might appreciate, Her Ghost in the Fog, and also The Death of Love. And also, I've got to mention this as well, From the Cradle to Enslave. If you're going to watch the film clip, be ready for some very horrific scenes. Number 4, Meshuggah. Meshuggah are the fathers of gent metal, which is polyrhythmic, down-tuned into drop A, kind of heavy as hell music. It's progressive, it's, as I said, polyrhythmic, so they don't use regular timing. It's all over the place, but it's so together at the same time. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love Meshuggah. And I think I didn't say they're from Sweden. They are famous for their mathematical approach to riffs, and also the inclusion in a meme for the Wolf of Wall Street. If you've been on social media, you've probably seen it. Favorite songs from Meshuggah, Rational Gaze. They have opened up the 2 concerts I've been to of theirs with Rational Gaze, and it's a great opener for a concert. It gets straight into the nitty-gritty of the music, and it's just a good, head-banging song to get the crowd right into the concert. Another song I really, really like is Aztec Two-Step. Bleed, actually, fantastic film clip. I recommend if you're new to Meshuggah, go and watch Bleed. The film clip, the music, everything's great. Also, Break the Bones of Those Whose Sinews Gave It Motion. It's a very, very long track title, but it came from the album Kolos. Kolos was probably my favorite Meshuggah album, very closely followed by Obscene. Yeah, just two incredibly good albums, and if you're after a third, Catch 33. And then another really good song from Meshuggah is Pravus. Number 5 is a band I'm going to go see in a couple months, and I'm so excited because I only caught half of their last concert, unfortunately, due to illness. Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost are a gothic metal band, and you're probably thinking, gothic metal? They brought goth rock, so kind of Joy Division, Sisters of Mercy vibes, and brought it into metal in a very beautiful way. They fused the two different genres into their own. Paradise Lost are a very essential metal band because of the way that they brought extra elements into metal at such a early time. They've been going since, I think 91 was their first album, but I might be wrong about that. And they are also, as they moved away from the gothic themes, they some people consider them the forefathers of doom metal. I consider them and a couple other bands to be the kind of creators of doom metal, but nonetheless, beautiful, beautiful band. They are so diverse. When you look at two different albums like Gothic and 1 Second, they are completely different, yet they have a very specific Paradise Lost vibe to them. So songs that I would recommend from Paradise Lost are Disappear, Lydia, Hallowed Land, and Beneath Broken Earth. They come from completely different albums. Beneath Broken Earth actually kind of pushes more into black metal. That album was very, very different for Paradise Lost, but a great different. Very experimental and beautiful. I'm going to say beautiful a lot. If I were to recommend an album for someone who's new to Paradise Lost, I would definitely recommend the 1 Second album. Number 6 is another long-term band for me, Amorphous. Again, Paradise Lost and Amorphous I got into at pretty much the exact same time because my uncle left a pile of CDs at my house and I listened to them all, and Paradise Lost and Amorphous were in the mix. So that's how I got into them, and I think that was I was about 10 or 11 at that particular time. So Amorphous are Finnish metal veterans who, they started off in the death metal genre, but they move more towards a very unique style that wavers between progressive and black metal. They also have some real cool folk fusions into them and the use of instruments you don't particularly see in metal, such as the sitar, the mandolin, a couple other instruments that I'm not even going to bother name. But yeah, a beautiful band that I have adored for many, many years. My favorite song is My Can't Tell, which I prefer the acoustic reprise of the song, and that was with their old singer, which was Pasi Koskinen. I hope I pronounced that right. Pasi Koskinen. I think that's it. He had a great voice, but I prefer the newer singer, Tommy Jaltson. I hope I'm saying that right. Tommy Jalston? Tommy Jaltson? Something like that. Also, I highly recommend the Eclipse album and the Silent Waters album. They're my two favorite Amorphous albums, and more of my favorite songs are Same Flesh, which is from the Eclipse album, Stone Woman, also from the Eclipse album, and also Eye of Crimson Blood, which is off the Silent Waters album. I will try and link as many artists and songs that I can find in the description down below. I'll link off to their official videos so you can watch their songs, etc, etc, where I can, where it's possible. Number 8 is Be'lakor. They are an Australian melodic death metal band they're from Melbourne. So Melbourne seems to churn out some really good bands, and yeah, just especially in the last few years. They've had a lot of good bands come out of Melbourne. I've been following Be'lakor since around 2007 or 2008 when they released their first album, which was The Frail Tide, and some songs I would recommend from them are Remnants, which is from their Of Breath and Bone album, my personal favourite album, From Scythe to Sceptre, which comes off Stone's Reach, and also Triaste, which comes from the Frail Tide album. Triaste is my second favourite song of theirs to ever exist. Remnants is my number 1 favourite. Sorry about the numbers, but Be'lakor is number 7, because number 8 is Bauhaus. Most of you probably know who they are. Bauhaus are a post-punk band that originated from Northampton, England. I think I remember reading somewhere that they were named after a German art school, which was also called Bauhaus, something Bauhaus. They are cited as many as the pioneers of the Gothic music genre. I guarantee that most of you who are over the age of 20 can at least name one of their songs, because they're very popular, and their symbols and their album covers are often jacked by other artists or companies who think it's nice symbolism and take it. Like there's one particular symbol of Bauhaus, I'll put it over here somewhere, that you've probably seen, and it's been taken by almost everyone and their mother. How I initially came across Bauhaus was, I think I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I noticed that someone had covered David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust, and it was Bauhaus, so I listened to it, I quite liked it, and I ended up listening to more of their music. Family members owned their stuff, so I'm very grateful for the way I grew up, because I had a lot of access to a lot of really good music through my uncles and my parents and all of that. My favourite songs from Bauhaus are She's in Parties, Hollow Hills, and Who Killed Mr. Moonlight. My number 9 is Black Label Society, and it's really funny because certain crowds, everybody knows who Black Label Society are, and others, they don't have a clue. Black Label Society are a Los Angeles-based biker metal band. They are like Pantera. They were actually friends with Pantera, but more of like a traditional raspy voice. Phil Anselmo had a really almost growly scream voice. Zakk Wylde uses a cleanish voice, but it's so good. Zakk Wylde is one of my all-time favorite guitarists, and I have a total crush on him. He's absolutely gorgeous. They're a very essential biker metal band, and if you listen to their music, you can kind of get where you get that, because it's very much what you stereotypically hear as biker metal, but I really do enjoy their music, and Zakk Wylde is a very talented guitarist and a pianist. Recommending songs for people who are new to Black Label Society, I would highly recommend In This River, which was actually about Dimebag Darrell, who Dimebag was the guitarist of Pantera, and Zakk Wylde and him were very good friends throughout childhood and, through their careers, until his death. So that song is an homage to Dimebag. Also, I'd recommend Stillborn, which features Ozzy Osbourne on the album version. That's a good song as well. And also Destruction Overdrive. Destruction Overdrive is one of those songs that always has me in the mood to, break things. Number 10 is Periphery. Periphery are a band that comes out of Washington, D.C. that are gent metal or progressive. Gent refers to mainly polyrhythmic, down-tuned into drop A kind of vibes with 7-string, 8-string guitars, generally. Also, another fun fact is Periphery's guitarist, Misha Mansour, is kind of the namesake for my daughter. He's a fantastic guitarist and a really down-to-earth guy, so that's one of the reasons why we decided on the name Misha. So my favourite songs are, I've been following Periphery since they released their first album in April 2010, which was the original Periphery album. And my favourite songs are Totally Mad, which comes from that. Also, Icarus Lives. Icarus Lives is a very quintessential Periphery track to listen to. It's very, very good, very well written, and shows kind of their music abilities, except for Misha Mansour on the guitar. Race Car is really good for seeing their musical ability. It's a very long song, but very beautiful at the same time. Also, Flatline. Flatline is probably my current favorite Periphery song. And I know that a lot of you guys who do know Periphery don't really like the song. And I can understand that, but when you know what the song's about and the message behind it, it's a very, very dynamic track in the way it's written. And it's after I learnt what it was about, I cried re-listening to it because, and you know, I'm not really like a super emotional kind of person, but it's because it's relatable to those of us who are very, very different and have been bullied at school. Yes, the song is about bullying and about someone killing themselves and basically saying, stop it before they leave the earth. It's a very, very lyrically powerful song, but I do understand that a lot of Periphery fans don't really like that. Also, I noticed that a lot of Periphery fans don't seem to like Spencer Sotelo voice. I like it. I like both his clean and his growling vocals. I don't know. I guess because I've been listening to them since the beginning, it's very Periphery voice for me, so it's just something that I know. Some special mentions, because this was the hardest list I've had to put together for a very, very long time. Special mentions are Ghost, Slipknot, Ministry, Lamb of God, Iron Maiden, The Cure, I've already said Slipknot, Joy Division, Insomnium, Amon Amarth. I think my husband would kill me if I didn't put Amon Amarth in here, Skusya, Vadruna, Satyricon, Karash Angren, Carcass, oh my gosh, Morbid Angel. There's so many bands I could name that I adore the heck out of. I literally listen to hundreds of artists, so it's just impossible for me to name in order, you know. I'm sorry. Special mentions to every band I've listened to. So the album recommendation of the week is Be'lakor of Breath and Bone. I mentioned that they're one of my favourite bands, and yeah, Be'lakor, an Australian metal band, and Of Breath and Bone is my particular favourite album. The album artwork is beautiful. It's a full-length album, for those of you who are wondering, 8 tracks. I highly recommend that if you get this, you start from track 1 and you go right through to the end in chronological order, because just there are a couple run-on tracks and it makes so much more sense when you listen to it in order. So album recommendation is Be'lakor of Breath and Bone. So that is all for this Music Monday. I hope you enjoyed this video. Down in the comments down below, I want to know what your favourite bands are. And if you don't feel like listing 10, list 3 of your favourite bands. I would love to see the diversity within the comments section. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I'd love to be here for every single video and every single Music Monday. Like this video if you liked this, and I know that some people are going to dislike this because my opinions don't line up with theirs. Comment down below what your favourites are, and I hope you have a fantabulous day.